Here's the thing, there are two kinds of cars that really benefit from being electric. Now I'm here just outside of Portland for the Automotive Video Awards, and I've gotten the chance to drive a lot of different cars in a short amount of time, and a lot of those have been electric. And one of them was the Rolls-Royce Spectre, the all-electric Rolls-Royce. And that is exactly the kind of car that you want to be electric. And that is, of course, a luxury car, because luxury cars benefit from the quiet, from the seamless power, and of course, from the availability of a chauffeur. But let's forget about the chauffeur part. Let's talk about the other kind of car that does well electrified, and that is something that's more of a utility than a sports car or a passion car. You know, the kind of car that you take the kids to school in, or maybe you take to work, or maybe you take your grandparents out to dinner. And here we have one of those. This is the new Audi Q8 e-tron. And of course, Q8 means it's big, and e-tron means it's electric. And this is the kind of car I think really does benefit from being electric, because most, not all, but most electric cars drive the same. So if you're more concerned about having space, or more concerned about being able to pick up the kids, and not really concerned about how a vehicle drives, then something like this does really well electrified. Now, of course, this is an expensive vehicle. It starts at about $85,000. This Prestige model, almost $90,000. That's a lot of money for, you know, a big Audi. Is it worth it? Well, in this video, we're going to take a ride. I'm going to show you the inside. But as always, I'm going to start under the hood, and we'll see what is under there. Now, many electric cars today, except for Teslas, don't have frunks. And I kind of look at that as being a litmus test to see if they've actually cared about engineering a little cubby or a little utility into it. So of course, you know, you've got the electric motor. This is a Quattro, so it's all-wheel drive, but Audi has kindly given you a little cubby hole. And in this case, it's holding the charger. And speaking of the charger, this vehicle has, I think it's about 106 kilowatt hour battery, which new for 2024 is good for about 278, 280 miles of range. So it's approaching that, I'm gonna call it magic, 300 miles of range, which is really what you kind of need to make it useful. It does have a pretty clever charging port right there. It will charge up to 170 kilowatts, which isn't, you know, grand. We just bought a Tesla Cybertruck, and that's on an 800 volt architecture, and that charges considerably faster. But then the problem is there aren't faster chargers to get up to that 350 kilowatt speed. So the question is, which came first, the fast charging electric car or the fast charger? And right now, at least with some of the cars, Lucid, Tesla, not Audi, the chargers are not keeping up with the cars. Anyway, I remember driving the first e-tron, God, it must be 4 or 5 years ago now, and that thing had barely 250 miles of range. And Audi has come a long way in actually making a much smaller, and actually making a much bigger car that goes a lot further, and that's wonderful. In terms of styling, you know, it's an Audi. Audi has recently kind of lost the mantle of excitement, newness, coolness, whatever you want to call it, to Tesla. And, you know, bottling cool is really hard. And this is kind of a good example of that. There's nothing offensive about the styling of it, but there's nothing, you know, particularly exciting about it. Once again, more utility than passion. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying, you know, this is a car that you're going to use to go to work. You're going to use to go pick up the kids, but certainly probably not a car you're going to take to cars and coffee. But the good thing about utility is that there is a lot of room. So let's hop in the rear seat. We're going to do this backwards and see how a 6'2" somewhat chunky human fits. And the answer is not bad. I've got the seat all the way back, plenty of headroom, good knee room. I do have a little display here for my third row of climate control, and as always, I like my privacy. That's really nice. So yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's not, you know, for $90,000, you can get a Tahoe that won't be electric, and that'll certainly hold a lot more people and stuff, but you won't get that kind of German, shall we call it, Autobahn ready driving experience. Now, Audi does a really good job in matching materials to screens, and the way they've done that is by having not one, not two, but actually 3 screens, and then they're color coded to do different things based on the color of the thing. So here you have a screen for your HVAC. That's your main screen that's loading, and that's what I mean, like radio is yellow, media phone is green. I remember when they first showed me that, I thought to myself, as an auto reviewer, I'll never remember it, but I guess as an owner, that might become handy. And then the materials, of course, are very nice. This open pore wood, French stitching on the dashboard. But no longer is this the cool kid on the block. It's starting to feel a little bit too industrial in some ways, maybe too clinically perfect. Sometimes luxury comes with a little bit less perfection, but it is relatively easy to use, relatively straightforward on everything. Now, this is interesting. The battery looks like it's about 90%, and the car says it has 192 miles of range, which is a little scary because it's supposed to get close to 300. And like I always like to say, your results will vary depending on when you're driving, what time of year you're driving, and how hard you're driving. And that's the thing. That's why I say 300 is a magic number, because most of us aren't going to get 300. I do like the shifter. I think it's really cool. Like, it's this giant, like, powerboat style shifter. You push back on it to go into drive, and then let's see. Let's make it fun. Let's go into sport. All-road efficiency, comfort. We're not going to go off-road today. Come on, where's my dynamic? There it is. All right, so we're in the fastest mode possible. We also have air suspension, which I believe is lowering us to get as hunkered down as possible to make this a little bit more fun to drive. But I started this review by saying, electric cars are really great utility cars, and they're really great luxury cars. And this combines both of those because you've got no transmission tunnel, gives you more room. You've got, obviously, much more of a quiet car. One of the things that automakers are struggling now that we've gotten rid of, in this car specifically, in all electric cars, the internal combustion engine, what you end up hearing a lot more of is road noise or wind noise. And so what we thought were quiet cars, now that the engine note is gone, are not all that quiet. So how does it drive? It drives well. There's a progressiveness to the brake pedal that I like, so it doesn't feel like you're just catching at the very end of the brake pedal travel. And then when we go over this hill, I'll give it a little bit of accelerator and see just how quick it is. Officially, it's supposed to be 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds. Actually, let's wait for the stop sign when we make the left, and then we'll just squirt a little bit of electrons into the motor and see how it does. But here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, most electric cars drive the same. So really, you're only playing with, certain dynamics, like, how much instant torque do you get? Let me put my head back just in case this is going to surprise me. So here we go. Kind of slowly builds. I would say it feels very similar to the ZDX I recently, Type S, reviewed, because the power kind of builds. It doesn't do that kind of Tesla thing where it just snaps your neck back. And this feels like a 5-second car, which is plenty fast. I remember when I was a kid, 5 seconds was mind-blowing because I thought to myself, that's supercar territory. Now it's just kind of pedestrian. Hauling the kids to school, 0 to 60, my times have changed. It's very quiet. The steering is direct. The seats are comfortable. I could see myself crossing the country in this or using this as a daily driver quite easily. I do think, whoa, sorry dude, don't pull up. I do think it is missing a little bit of that kind of panache, a little bit of that lust factor, right? Where you want to kind of throw it around the corners here. So I suppose for that, Audi does make a car, SQ8, which I recently reviewed as well, and that one, of course, does have, the traditional powertrain. But if you want something comfortable, and if you want something, let me hit P here, and if you want something that, will work as a really reliable everyday driver, this is not a bad choice. Now, you may be asking to yourself, Roman, why is it reliable? And that's because there isn't an internal combustion engine in there that can break, that's going to need oil change, that's going to need lubricating, that's going to need a fuel pump, a starter. None of that is under here. And so in general, electric motors and electric cars just tend to be a lot simpler and thus a lot less prone to having to be serviced and needing to be taken to the dealership. And that's why a lot of the ways dealers hate these cars, because they make a lot of money, not by selling them, but by servicing them. And these things don't need servicing. Now, what does it compete with? My wife just bought a BMW iX. Also, Mercedes-Benz does, of course, the EQS SUV, and those are also in that $90,000 range. So, there's a lot of German competition for this. And really, at the end of the day, the question is, are you more traditional? Do you want that heart-throbbing excitement that comes with an internal combustion engine? Or do you want the luxury and the utility that comes with an EV? Really, the choice is yours. As always, guys, this is Roman saying thanks for watching, and head on over to you-know-where, alltfl.com, for more views, news, views, and real-world reviews. Cole, I'm getting tired. This is car number 10 we reviewed now in 2 days. That's just too much. See ya. Ciao.